Okay. Governor-elect, the floor is yours.
Oh, great. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to be with you, even if it's electronically this time. I am going to have to stay with you briefly this morning, and then I've got a luncheon that I need to attend. So I'm going to be kind of bowing out, but I'll be with you again electronically next weekend as we continue our second part of this PETS training, and then looking forward to seeing everybody in person in Las Cruces on March 3rd and 4th. So I think we've got some great sessions planned for you as incoming presidents. I know you're probably starting to feel that pressure of being a new president. And I think the neat thing is most of our training team have been past presidents and have been in your shoes a few years ago, and so we know what you're thinking and some of your concerns and some of your trepidations, but don't worry, we're going to get you prepared and make you a wonderful president this coming year. So let me just, if you have any questions between now and the next session, be sure to contact either myself or District Trainer Sonny Kellerman. And for this session, we've asked Jeff Weinrack to facilitate it. I don't know how many of you know Jeff, but he's a wonderful guy, and he's also, again, a president of the Albuquerque del Sol Rotary Club. And Jeff is also the chair of the Rocky Mountain Division of the Rotary Leadership Institute. So Jeff, want to take it away?
Thank you, Richard. And I am president of my club again. I lost a bet.
Yeah, that happens.
Okay. So just a couple of Zoom protocols. Again, if you're not speaking, please mute just so that we limit the possibility of background noise. But if you have a question, feel free to unmute. You can put things in the chat, although I wouldn't put too much in the chat. This is being recorded, and the people who are going to be watching this may not see what's in the chat. So my preference would be that if you have questions, to just unmute and ask the questions. Hopefully that will work. The only other thing that I wanted to suggest is we have a lot of district leaders who are on the call today, including assistant governors, past district governors, so on. There may be questions where you all may have something you want to say. So I may defer a question or maybe have some of the district leadership team help. It's one of the reasons why PETS, even though this is pre-PETS, is so important, is because you're learning from each other, but you're also learning from those who have been in your position. So I welcome all of you who are past presidents to be part of the discussion. And I think that is it for Zoom protocol. Any questions on just the technical part? If worst case scenario, we have an intranet outage or something like that, we will try to recover if it's only a couple minutes. Worst case scenario, we will reschedule, but hopefully that will not be the case. I think that is it for Zoom. Any questions, just technical questions? Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it over to District Governors past District Governor and District Trainer, Sonny Kellerman.
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, everyone. It's great to see you this morning. Because PETS is intended to also be an opportunity to get to know one another and to be able to draw on all of our resources, we are going to do an introduction process this morning, and we're going to do it with lightning speed, because otherwise we could spend our entire 3 hours doing this. So here's what I suggest, is that we each say our name, our club, and our role in Rotary in 2023-24. So this is going to go, I'm Sunny Kellerman from the Rotary Club of Silver City, and I'm your district trainer. And then we'll move on. Everyone got it? That way we start to get to know each other, and we'll see each other in person in virtually next week, and then in person in Las Cruces in 2 weeks. So I'm going to do this in the order in which you show up on my screen. And then at the end, I'm going to ask if I've missed anyone. So hang in there. Let's go. You've met District Governor-elect Richard Haas. Welcome, Richard. We're glad to have you with us. Eileen from Socorro.
I'm Eileen Comstock from Socorro Rotary Club, and I will be president next year.
Thank you, Eileen. Kelly. Kelly Holiday, are you muted? And I'm also not Kim. I'll come back to you, Kelly. Tom Simon.
Okay, I'm Tom Simon. I'm up with Rotary Club of Santa Fe. And my role right now is District Governor Nominee Designate. In 23-24, I'll be District Governor Nominee.
Great, thank you, Tom. Kelly, back to you.
Yes, Kelly Holiday, Hobbs Rotary President-elect, and I'm sorry I can't get my camera to work this morning. We're still working on it.
We understand. Thank you. Keep going. Keep trying. We want to see you. Susie.
Okay.
I'm Susie Clay. I'm with the Rotary Club of Albuquerque, and I will be the president next year.
Thanks, Susie. Carol Linder.
I'm Carol Linder from Las Vegas Rotary Club, and I'm currently president-elect, but I may defer for a year to Anita Gonzalez, who joined us today. So.
Okay, thank you. Marcos.
Hi, good morning. Marcos Dava, Roswell, New Mexico, President-elect.
Thank you. Mark. Go
Mark
ahead.
Morrison from the Marfa, Texas Rotary Club, President-elect.
Welcome. Leah.
Leah Jordan, Las Cruces Rotary Club, LG South District.
Thank you. Jerry.
Rotary Club of West El Paso, Jerry Araiza.
Welcome. Chris.
Sorry.
I'm president-elect of the Sunrise Rotary Club of Chapala, Jalisco, Mexico. I spent most of my life in Santa Fe, and we still have interest there. But now we live in Chapala. I'll be next year's president.
Glad to have you with us, Chris. Deborah.
I'm the membership chair of the Rotary Club of Santa Fe.
Thank you. Raul.
Hello, good morning. Raul Cota, Camino Real Rotary Club, El Paso, Texas. Right now, my role is New Generations and President-elect 22-23.
Wonderful. Thank you. Kathy. Kathy. Yeah.
Hi, Kathy Elverum. I am president-elect for the TRC Rotary Club, if my paperwork ever gets found again.
We'll search high
They
and
forgot
low.
to file it.
Thank you. Richard.
Richard Bruce. I'm with the Rio Rancho Rotary Sunrise Club. I'm assistant governor for Socorro Metro, Albuquerque Metro, and Albuquerque Sandia.
Thank you. Maria.
Hi, I'm Maria Montoya Chavez, and I'm going to try my best to run the show as the president of our Del Norte Club coming up in July.
Super. Thank you. Joseph. Joseph, are you there? I think Joseph froze. We'll come back. Bob Barnard.
Hi, I'm Bob Barnard. I'm Assistant Governor South for TRC and the other Las Cruces Club, past president of Las Cruces Rio Grande.
Thank you, Bob. Joseph, are you back? Joseph Sarabia, can you speak?
It's Josiah. That's my son, but I'm actually
Oh,
Patrick.
I'm sorry, my eyes. I'm getting cataract surgery next
That's
week.
okay. I'm Patrick Sarabia. That's my son's name, but I'm Patrick Sarabia. I'm the president of the Northeast El Paso Rotary Club. This is my second go around as president.
Patrick, I remember you.
Yes, you were my
I was your governor, yes.
Yes.
You were awesome. We'll do it again. Gary,
Good morning. I'm Gary Hillman. I'm currently the speaker chair at the Taos Milagro Rotary Club, and I'm president-elect taking over in July.
welcome. Thank you. Donald,
Don Leach, Los Lunas Rotary Club, president-elect.
excellent. Past district governor, Dick Jones. You're muted.
Good morning. I'm Dick Jones, past president of the Rotary Club of Santa Fe, and I served as district governor in 2009, 2010.
Thank you. Welcome.
Good morning, I'm Brandon Hensley. I'm with the Albuquerque Club Metro. I'm president-elect.
Excellent. Thank you. Tim.
Yes, can you see me, hear me?
Yes, we can.
I can't tell on this side whether I'm in the meeting or not. I'm president-elect of the Rotary Club of Los Alamos, due to take over in July.
Great, thank you. Gordon.
Gordon Cox, image chair of the Angel Fire Club and AG North.
Thank you. Everybody just switched screens on me. Governor Tom?
Tom Walker, Rotary Club of Albuquerque, past district governor in 15-16. I will be the vice governor. I will also be the Council on Legislation representative. And currently I am the Zone 26 Endowment Major Gifts Advisor.
Thank you, sir. Glad to have you with us. Patty.
Hi, I'm Patty Hennessy with the Rotary Club of Albuquerque. I'm currently on the foundation board and I'm president-elect, so I will serve after Susie Clay's term.
Terrific. Thank you. Jen.
Jen Dresser, Assistant Governor Central, and also the Empowering Girls Ambassador.
Thank you. Martine.
Martin Lopez, Rotary Club of El Paso, and I'm going to be the incoming president.
Thank you. Sandy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandy Roush. I'm past president of the Del Norte Rotary Club, and I'm the AG in the central area for Belen, Los Lunas, and Gallup. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Carolyn.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Moore from the Rotary Club of Santa Fe. I'm the president-elect and president next year.
Wow. Thank you. Carla.
Hello, I'm Carla Niemeyer. I'm with the Rotary Club of Carlsbad, and I'll be president in July.
Wonderful. Thank you. Rich, we did Rich Morgan? Rick
Morgan. I'm past president and I'm current president-elect for the Grants Milan Rotary Club.
Thank you, Rick. Andres.
Good morning, Andres Madrid. I am president-elect for the Fort Stockton Rotary Club.
Super, thank you. Rochelle.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rochelle Linsky, easier to say than spell. I'm president-elect of the Rotary Club in Ruidoso.
Thank you. Ross.
I'm Ross McKellar. I'm the president-elect of the Rio Rancho Rotary Club and will be president next year.
Super, thank you. Bianca.
Good morning. I am current president, soon to be past president of the Roswell Rotary Club, and I am a brand new AG in the East with Carrizoso, Carlsbad, and Ruidoso as my clubs.
Thanks, Bianca. Cambry, am I saying that right?
You are. Good morning. This is Cambry Seiling. I am president-elect of the Alamogordo Rotary Club.
Super, thank you. Paula.
Good morning, I'm Paula Heichel, and I am the president-elect of the Las Cruces Rio Grande Rotary.
Excellent, thank you. Mark. Mark, you're muted. Mark.
Thanks, trying to get there. Good morning. Mark Goodman, currently president of the Rotary Club of Albuquerque and 23-24 Assistant Governor Central.
Super, thank you. Janine?
Hello, I'm Janine Peterson. I am currently the president of the El Paso Sunrise Club, and I'm an AG in the South for the El Paso area.
Thank you. Willis?
Good morning, all. I'm Willis Sharmer. I'm past president of the Roswell Rotary Club and currently the district membership chair.
Thank you. Phil?
Phil Gaudette, Moriarty, Edgewood, president-elect.
Excellent. Thank you. Nancy? By the way, these are no longer in order. The screen keeps shifting on me every time, so I'm running this by instinct. Phil, you there?
Oh, you didn't hear me?
I did. I'm sorry. I did hear you. Moriarty, Edgewood.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Welcome. Nancy? Nancy, I know you're there somewhere. Nancy Wertz, are you muted or did you leave?
I'm sorry, I'm the president-elect again of the White Sands Rotary Club, and I'm at the airport in Houston. Lord only knows, I keep going in and out.
I understand. Thanks for
I'll
joining
stay
us.
with you as long as I can.
We're recording it too, so you won't miss anything. Thank you for being
I'll
here.
just miss probably the last 40 minutes, so.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anita?
Hello, everybody. My name is Anita Gonzalez, and I am the co-president-elect for the Las Vegas Rotary Club.
Thank you. Eric?
Hello, Eric Smith, president-elect behind Janine Peterson for Sunrise Rotary of El Paso, Texas.
Thank you. Jill?
Jill Grammer, Las Cruces, and I'll be president-elect in 2024.
All right. Excellent. Gladys?
Hi, this is Gladys Camacho, and I am president-elect for the Deming Rotary Club.
Great, thank you. Don Thomas, did I get you?
Hi, this is Don Thomas. I am president-elect for the Portales Rotary Club, Portales, New Mexico. I am much like Patrick in El Paso, second time around, but it was about 20 years ago. So very honored to be back with you again.
Honored to have you. We have a lot of bold souls who are doing this another time. That should make for a very strong year, I think. Who have I missed? George?
He has no working microphone, Sunny. He said in chat. Yeah.
Thank you, George. Welcome to the screen of George Greenlee from the Las Lunas Rotary Club, who is an assistant governor. We're glad to have you, George. Hope you get a microphone.
And Laura Gonzalez has her hand raised.
Okay, Laura, and then I still have one other. Laura, go ahead, please.
Hi, Sunny. So I'm Laura Gonzalez. I am an AG North for Los Alamos and Espanola clubs, and I'm excited to be here and have a great year.
Excited to have you too, Laura. Thank you. Bill Hardy, can you speak?
I can. I don't have a camera here, but my name's Bill Hardy, and I am coming back for a second term as the president of the Rotary Club of Las Cruces for our centennial year.
Wow, thank you. All right, who else have I missed? Do we have everyone? Let me extend a hearty welcome to all of you. And this is going to be fun. I'll turn it back over to you, Jeff.
And Sunny, with all the Zoom windows moving around, that was an outstanding job.
Thank you very much.
Not surprised.
Happy to see you all.
Okay, so before we get into the training, the document that I sent out to all of you, which is what we're going to be focusing on today, for me is one of the best publications that Rotary International has put out in the last few years. For an incoming president, which many of you are, it's a nice way to kind of frame your thinking. You know, there's a lot of documentation that you can review, but to me, the Be a Vibrant Club overview, which we're going to go through today, is very foundational. And there may be things there that you hadn't thought about yet as you were preparing for your president year. There may be things that you've already thought about, but maybe we can dig a little deeper. And I think that's why it's really helpful to go through this. We have done this training for all Rotarians because everyone can understand what it means to be a vibrant club. But for presidents-elect, I think this is unique. And I'm hoping that we have an opportunity for a dialogue about how some of the concepts that we're going to go through today will help you. And that's really what PETS is all about, is to equip you to be the best club presidents that you can possibly be. So before we start, I'm wondering if any of you would be interested in giving us what you think vibrant means. What is, and it doesn't have to be a vibrant Rotary Club, but just in general, what does vibrant suggest to you? And again, you can just unmute and answer. By the way, when we did the introductions, I didn't hear any feedback, so that bodes well for being able to unmute.
Alive and alive. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Energized.
Okay, energized. Carla, you were going to say something and then you muted. Go.
Alive and active.
Alive and active. Got it. Marcos?
Full of life. Full of life.
I love that. Any other thoughts on vibrant?
Thriving.
Sorry?
Thriving.
Glowing.
Drive. Did I hear driving?
Thriving. TH.
Thriving. Thank you. Excellent. Gordon?
Glowing.
Glowing.
Engaging.
Wow. Engaging. Yeah, that's great. Glowing, engaging. Anything else?
Motivational.
Motivational. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Expanding.
So I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm thinking more of like expanding.
Expanding.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's hard to be vibrant and stagnant at the same time. Would that be true? Okay. So you all get the gist.
I think a vibrant club would be one that is attractive to newcomers.
Yes, absolutely. What a great reason to try to be or be even more of a vibrant club, because it would be attractive to other people. Absolutely. Okay, so that was great. I think we all got the gist of what vibrant is, and it's not a word we use too often in just our regular speech, but I really like that term for our Rotary clubs. I think the only word I have an issue with is the word be, because we may already be, or we may want to become, or we may want to stay vibrant, or may want to be more vibrant. So each of your clubs may be in a certain situation, and I'm going to send out a poll in a second, and I'd like just the presidents-elect to answer. This is anonymous, but this will kind of give us a gauge of where we are as a group in terms of the current, if you want to call it, health of our Rotary clubs. So give me 1 second. And if I remember correctly, polls do not show on a video. So when I launch it, I'll read the question. And again, president-elect answer, and then we will go over the results. Let's see if this works. So the question is, what is the health of your Rotary Club? And again, I'm reading it mainly for the people who will be watching the video. So we've got struggling and still struggling, struggling but improving, fair and declining, fair and staying there, fair but improving, very good but declining, very good and holding steady, very good and still improving. Okay, we'll take about another 15 seconds, and then again, presidents-elect only, if that's okay. Okay, I'm going to end the poll and we should see the results. Can you all see the results? Okay, so let's just take a quick scan through what we're seeing here. We've got the plurality at very good and still improving. That's awesome. That is awesome. We've got 19% very good and holding steady. We've got 16% fair but improving. We've got 16% fair and declining. We've got 9% struggling but improving. And there's a few other lesser responses. So for each of us, as an incoming president, it's really important to understand, let's call it the current state. Where are we now? Because if we are doing well now, we want to find ways to sustain and maybe even grow more. If we're fair or struggling, we may need to kind of do some kind of an assessment as to why we're not doing better than we are, and use that assessment to help build a strategy to improve the health of the club. Does that make sense, everyone? And remember too, that we're all learning together, and we've got these president's councils across the district where you're all going to get a chance to work with each other, because we're all going to grow together. So thank you for sharing. I'm going to stop the poll. Okay. Let's get into the document. Give me 1 second. Okay. Are you all seeing Be a Vibrant Club? Okay, so
Yes.
as I said, this came out a few years ago. I immediately kind of grabbed it and digested it because it had so much good information. And what we're going to do today, and I'm going to scroll down. Hopefully you won't get a headache while I'm scrolling. There's some information in here about a particular club and kind of their case study. It's interesting. There's always good things to learn from other clubs, but every club is different. But if certain things work for certain clubs, that may be worth considering for our clubs. What we're going to focus on this morning is all of this. And I'm going to expand it a little bit so you can see it. There's like 10 aspects or elements of starting your club on a path to vibrancy. And again, I think given your survey responses, we're not really starting a lot of your clubs. It's more expanding or being even more vibrant than you already are. So what we'll notice when we go through these is that these tools and tools like them are helpful for any club, regardless of the current state of your club. Okay. The good thing about this document, among other things, is that it has a lot of hyperlinks. I don't know if any of you noticed when you got the document as an attachment, if you opened it, these items that are in bold are hyperlinks, which is unique, right? Usually we see like a little blue something with a line under it that kind of suggests it, but there's a lot of hyperlinked documents and also some links to the Rotary website, which we're going to go to a little bit later. So this document electronically gives you access to more materials which we're going to go through. Okay, we're about to start. Any questions before we get into this? We're going to take a deep dive. We're going to take about 10 minutes to go through each of these elements. And again, we're not hearing any feedback, so feel free to open your mic. Past presidents, feel free to interject as we go through this. We want this to be an open dialogue. Okay. So as you develop your plan, so this again, this is kind of like, what's your path, or what are you thinking about to either get more vibrant or to become vibrant, whatever the verb happens to be. Decide what you would like your club to be like in 3 to 5 years. So immediately to me, this is interesting because many of us think 1 year at a time because we serve 1 year, right? Unless some of you, when you introduce yourself, you're serving multiple years, which is wonderful. But generally speaking, because of how we're set up, we serve 1 year terms. And so it's easy to think about 1 year. But Rotary International would like for us to think 3 to 5 years. So before we get into the documents, any thoughts about the notion of thinking ahead more than 1 year? And again, this is not just for the club, but also our district. So any thoughts about the merit or the value of thinking beyond 1 year if you can? And
Well,
again, feel free to mute. Go ahead.
This is Martin. I think that's great, except that you need to have a great communication plan with whoever your following presidents are, because we can sit there and create a 3 to 5 year plan, but if they don't pick that up and work with it, then what's the point? Because if they come in and do their own plan. So if you're asking us to do a 3 to 5 year plan, then we need to get whoever the president-elect behind us is on board with that as well.
That is excellent. So I don't want to put you all on the spot, but if you already know, or if the club already knows who your successor is going to be, it makes a lot of sense to involve that individual, right? Because as you pointed out, we don't want to just build a 3 to 5 year plan and then next year it completely changes, right? So it's one reason why I think the Rotary model of identifying future leaders is a very good one, because at this point, ideally, you should know who your successor is. If you don't, this may be a good time to think about who your successor will be for that very reason, because you want them to work in conjunction with you, to work as a collaboration going forward. Excellent point. And we have that at the district too, right? We've got a district governor-elect, we've got a district governor nominee, we now have a district governor nominee designate for a similar reason, so that they can work collaboratively on a longer term plan and vision than what we can do in just 1 year. Any other thoughts on this notion of a longer term plan or aspiration?
I think this is Carol Linder. I'm just seeing the screen version, so I'm only seeing you, Jeff. But one of the things that I think is important is when we're thinking about it, I think I always think 3 to 5. But if you can, and I do think with Rotary, what I've seen is that we've really had, although we have some people that have been involved, like Marshall Poole forever, that gives us that continuity, and he always has a lot of energy. I do think we've been really driven in our club by the president, and they put all their energy in, and then the next person comes in and kind of has their own agenda. That's been my experience. But I think if you can really engage the club as a whole in seeing that as a vision and going there, that in addition to having sort of that leadership, engaging the club is important.
Thank you. Anyone from the district would like to briefly talk about the notion of a 3 to 5 year plan or aspiration at the district level? just to kind of give a comparison.
Jeff, I'll say something.
Sure.
In my experience, having a longer range plan that everyone has aligned on makes the yearly goals more meaningful because you can feel what you're building and feel and have a sense of accomplishment as you make incremental steps on your overall plan.
Excellent. Thank you, Sunny. Okay, so again, we're going to go through each of these and these hyperlinks, and I've got them all up that I can share. So we're going to first look at the Rotary Club Health Check. So before we get into these are nice tools. It's not like you must use these. My recommendation is you take a look at these and see if they would be helpful to you. You may come up with your own. So it's not like this has to be the way, but I do find that there's a lot of merit in looking at some of these tools just to get some ideas in case you're going to do something slightly different. So here is the Rotary Club Health Check. See, it's got a little health visual here. I like this one a lot. It's got different sections of questions for you to honestly kind of assess. Now you are a person, you are an incoming president. A lot of clubs will do surveys of the entire membership. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but this is really more like your assessment, almost like if we took that initial poll that we did and we dug deeper, where are we at the club level? So the first one is your club experience. You can see there's different statements here, and you just check which ones are true. And I'm just going to scroll through this. There's 5 areas. And for each area, based on how you answered, it provides maybe some solutions or things that you may want to consider if you've not done so. So again, for each of these areas, there's a whole slew of ideas and suggestions if you want to consider them. And these are just a smattering of ideas. It's not all the ideas, but there's quite a few here. The second section is service and socials. And again, this is really more for your personal assessment as opposed to a member survey. Although you certainly could use this as a member survey, although it's kind of long. And again, there's prognosis for that. And again, it's nice. There's also the hyperlinks in here. So far, at least, every hyperlink I've gone to has still been an active link, which is good. You're not going to get a lot of errors so far. Members. And again, this is kind of current state on your club's membership. And prognosis. And what they, the way this is set up is based on the number of checks per section. If you've only checked a few of the, let's say 20 or so, then maybe you've got an opportunity for improvement. And here's the prognosis of things that you can do. That's kind of how it's set up. There's 2 more sections. One is image, which is really public image or branding. It's really important, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but it really is important if you're an incoming president to have an open mind when you're looking at the current state. Don't cloud things. Be honest, like we did with that first question, because you're going to be in a position to affect change, but it's only going to work if you have clarity on the current state of your club. Does that make sense? Okay. The 5th section is business and operations, things like strategic plan, goals, and Rotary Club Central, which we'll talk about later. The role of the club secretary, things like that. So there's these 5 different sections. And then at the very bottom, there's a what's next. So again, I I think this is a helpful tool. I would expect that many of you think about these things, but maybe not as organized as this health check is. So why not give it a shot? So any thoughts or questions about the health check before we move on? And you can see here for each of the 5 sections, you put in a score based on the number of check marks, and then basically you develop an action plan. That's kind of what it's all about. If you find that your club is weak in a certain area, what is your action plan to make it stronger?
Hi,
That's a nice.
this is Sandy.
Sandy.
And I would suggest your board members each take one of those sections that they're responsible for as far as being directors, because that way they can use their expertise and the previous directors and then their committee members and really take a hard look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree. And I like what you said at the end there too. Take a hard look. Be truthful with yourselves. So excellent. Okay. Let's go back to the Vibrant Club. The next document we want to take a look at is the strategic planning guide to set long-term goals. So again, if the notion is decide what you'd like your club to be like in 3 to 5 years, you're not going to get there randomly. You're going to get there through a plan. And I think as Sunny had mentioned, if it's a plan that's longer than a year, each year there may be goals or accomplishments to kind of determine if your organization is on the path that it wants to be on or not. So here is, that is way too big, the strategic planning guide. So again, this is great if you are kind of new to strategic planning. This is a nice guide. I'll just kind of scroll through a little bit. It's nice that it starts with Rotary's vision statement, because we want to make sure that we're aligning to Rotary International, which I would expect we are. If you have your own approach to strategic planning, again, there's not like one right way to do it. But if you don't have a resource, this is a nice document to kind of go through and kind of see the different notions of strategic planning. And look at the first one. How is your club doing now? That's what I was calling the current state. What's the current state? In the question that we started with the poll, each of the options started with current state and what was the trend? Like struggling but improving, fair but declining. And that current state is really important. So if you're going to be involved in planning, understand how your club is doing now. Again, be very open and honest. And I like Sandy's idea of involving the board and things like this, and maybe even the membership. You know, the more feedback, the better. Develop a vision. So some clubs have a vision statement or a sense of a vision. What do we want our club to be like? What's our characteristics? A lot of clubs don't have a vision statement, but they may have like a mission statement, things like that. And that's fine. Main thing is to kind of have a foundational statement of what we're all about. Develop a plan. Or if you already have a plan, because many clubs do, use the opportunity to review the plan and make adjustments as needed if things are working well or if things are not working well. So if you've got a 3 to 5 year plan, you don't want to wait until the end of the 3 to 5 years to find out if it was the right plan or not. Does that make sense? So you've got that kind of regular assessment of how things are going. And I think as one of you had mentioned, if you're a president-elect, you should be working with your successor and maybe even the successor after to kind of make sure that you've got the continuity. So there's a lot in here. Tracking progress, that would seem important. And again, with an open, honest approach. You know, it's interesting, and I don't remember who said it. We learn more when we fail than when we succeed. So if something isn't working, learn from it and figure out how to do it better next time, or how to do something similar. So there's always opportunities, but in order to do that, you've got to have that plan and those specific actions that the club is going to do. Does that make sense, everyone? So tracking progress you have to do to know if things are working or not.
Jeff, Sandy put a pretty important message in the chat. Just, Sandy, do you want to go ahead and say what you were
Please.
suggesting?
Myself, well, the way I did the strategic plan, I looked at the district strategic plan as a guide and template, just to see what the district's goals were. And being prior military, you try to support the leadership, what their goals are. And let's say it's membership or public image or whatever they're doing, and then adapt your particular strategic plan to support the district, but adapt to your individual club. So in other words, if the district says, oh, we want to increase membership by X amount, then you look at your own strategic goals and say, well, we can support the district by maybe increasing our membership by 5% or 3% and have them measurable too. It's just a good guide, because then you're all in sync between the district and then each of the clubs, because the common goal is to improve and be vibrant all over the district. So
that is awesome. And for those who have been involved in the development of the district plan, they were thinking similarly, like, how is this going to work at the club level? Where can we work together? Because the district may have goals, but the clubs are going to be kind of implementing and executing. So I know that was part of their thinking as well. Gary, go ahead. You've got your hand raised.
Thank you. So how does one access the district plan?
What a great question. It is available on the district website on the homepage under Administration District, and we'll be getting a review of how to maneuver around the district's website and the Rotary International website next week. But thank you for the question. Outstanding.
Okay. We're going to move to the second aspect of being a vibrant club. Decide on your annual goals and enter them into Rotary Club Central. And look at how bold Rotary Club Central is here. It's another hyperlink. So, here's, I may hold off on going to Rotary Club Central because we're probably going to get training from our district secretary, Danette, at the next pre-pets on kind of club runner access and things like that. But this is, I mean, they're all important. But decide on your annual goals and enter them. Enter them, like actually go into the system and enter them. Couple things, and again, I'd be interested in hearing from past presidents and district leaders. So every year we get a sense of how many clubs have entered their goals in Rotary Club Central. And you would think that by July 1st, when you all become presidents, that your goals are in Rotary Club Central. Typically, when we check, and I think Tom Walker is one who typically will announce, how many clubs have goals in Rotary Club Central, the number is much less than the number of clubs in our district. Is that generally correct?
Yes, it is. In the foundation area, it's about 1 in 6 this year. Interestingly, 50% of our clubs are given, but only about 1 in 6 have goals.
Yeah. So I would expect there's a number of assistant governors and lieutenant governors and other district leaders that for the next few months, this is going to be reinforced quite a bit.
Yes.
And again, it isn't just deciding on the goals, it's entering them. And for myself, as a current president, I don't feel like it's busy work entering goals into some database. It's useful to me because I can track progress against those goals because they're documented. If I don't document them, it gets a lot harder to track progress. So for me, this exercise here has personal value. It's also valuable to my assistant governor and to the district leadership, but it's helpful to me. And every month or two at our board meetings, I go into Rotary Club Central and I generate a report. How are we doing against our goals? And that becomes the agenda for our board meeting. Where are we doing well? And where are we not achieving goals and what can we do better? Does that make sense to folks? So don't think of this as just the district is asking us to do this. There's actual value to you all as incoming presidents to decide on your goals and enter them into Rotary Club Central.
Jeff,
Yes,
may I add a couple of things?
absolutely.
First of all, to all of us, I acknowledge that sometimes it's confronting to enter goals. That actually putting the future out there and saying this shall be is putting ourselves on the line. So two things to remember. One is that the goals are intended to empower you. So the minute they don't, you're allowed to change them. This is not cast in stone. This is something that is intended as a guide and an aspiration. The other thing is, and you probably already know this, when you say a goal out loud and make it public, it is far more likely to be achieved. So for everyone's use and effectiveness, we strongly encourage this, and we'll probably pester you to do it. And you'll have lots of support in figuring it out.
Thank you, Sunny.
Jeff, this is Tom, if I might. First thing is, I know when you get done with this session on Vibrant Clubs, you're going to run immediately to the RI website. If your browser is Chrome or Edge, you will not be able, most likely, to get in and see the reports. There's a glitch. They know about it. Unfortunately, they have not yet fixed it. So the suggestion is, if you're using Chrome or Edge, go to Firefox. It's supposed to work. Secondly, why set goals? It's meaningless. You can change it, blah, blah. Let me give you an example from the foundation. You would like your club to achieve $100 per capita. Why is that important to your club? Well, in the way that we compute district grants, that gets you more money. So wouldn't you really kick yourself if you got to $99.99 instead of $100? So knowing what the goal is and knowing why there's a goal and what you're trying to accomplish. And this works for membership and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And Sandy put something in the chat that, again, you'll get more of this with Danette at the next pre-pets, but when you enter your goals, two of them or two groups of them would be automatically updated as long as your secretary and others are keeping current, which would be membership and foundation. Like how much money is the club donated to the annual fund, things like that. Everything else has to be manually entered, like how many service projects has the club done? How many social activities? How's your Interact Club doing? So it's going to be important if you're going to really focus on this to make sure that those things are not automatically updated, that they're being manually updated. Okay, moving on. So far, so good. Any questions, other thoughts, comments? Is this helpful? As I said, when they came out with this, I was ecstatic. It put everything in a nice, neat package. Okay. Hold club meetings to keep members engaged and informed. I think one of you mentioned engaged when we were asking about what vibrant meant, or a word like engaged. And we talk a lot, and I know Willis is on, we talk a lot about member engagement because we don't want members to just be members in name only. We want them to be engaged, and we want them to get a lot out of their membership. So, conduct a member satisfaction survey. So I've got a link to that, and I'm going to bring it up and make it smaller. So there is a member satisfaction survey that RI has. It is lengthy, but it is thorough. The notion is that whether you use this survey or use your own, to get an assessment from the membership of how things are going. You know, we did a question earlier, how you felt about the club, and then we looked at that health check. But oftentimes how you personally feel may not be how the membership feels. So it's important to determine how they're feeling. Sometimes you can get a sense of how they're feeling just by making eye contact and seeing how involved they are and all that, but kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of things can certainly help. So this is a sample that you can use. You can also come up with your own. Your assistant governors should be able to help you because, again, they were past presidents also. I don't know whether an assessment or a survey needs to be done every single year. So if, let's say, your club did a survey this year, that survey or what the survey suggested about the club may still be relevant. It's really up to you. I would say if your club has not done a survey in the last couple of years, it's probably worth doing one, just to get a sense of the membership. Let's see. One other thing that is interesting about this particular survey, and this is just Jeff bias right here. Satisfaction is common in surveys like this. And satisfaction used to kind of be the theme in a lot of surveys, whether it was customer surveys or employee surveys. But over the last few years, it really has shifted to engagement. And they're not the same. So I don't know if any of you work at Comcast. If you do, please don't take this personally. I'm satisfied with Comcast, but I'm not an engaged customer. There's a difference. Does anyone have an idea of what the difference between satisfaction and engagement would be?
Satisfaction is passive and engagement is active.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. So even though this is a fine survey to take a look at, my personal feeling is I would rather frame the questions, as Laura was saying, engagement. How engaged am I? Or how engaged are the members? How active are they? Because they may just be members, they're paying their dues, but they're not active, which is okay, but we'd like to get them active, right? We want to be a more vibrant club. So, as I said, this is just a sample. Many of you may have access to other surveys. The district has access to surveys. Your assistant governor can help you. The main thing is to make a decision. And I think this is a good time to even be thinking about that. Do we need to do an assessment of the members before July? If you're president-elect and you are going to have some kind of a planning event it would be nice to have the feedback from the members as input to the planning. Did I say that right? So don't do a plan and then ask the members how they're doing. If you're gonna develop the plan and you feel like it would be good to get an assessment of the members, do it as input to the planning so that the people who are involved in the planning have that report. How are the members doing? How engaged are they? Does that make sense? It's like a natural order here. Okay. This is as I said, this is fairly lengthy. But even if you don't use it, you probably can grab aspects of it that you think would be helpful and conduct the survey. The only other thing I would say about member surveys is that my personal feeling is that it's beneficial that they're anonymous. If there are some issues in the club and it's not anonymous, people may not feel comfortable being open and honest in their responses. So just as a personal suggestion, and you may want to have something at the bottom that says, you know, if you'd like to put your name, you can put it here and maybe we'll get back to you with maybe some follow-ups on your suggestions. But I would, if anything, I would make that more optional and not a requirement. Gary, you've got your hand raised.
So is this something that could be completed electronically and then it automatically gets returned to whoever sent it out?
So this document is not in an electronic format. So if you want to do one electronically, you certainly can. And I see Jenner has her hand up. We did one that was electronic and they're a lot easier. You can use like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms or things like that. Jen?
Yeah, that was what I was going to suggest. I did put it in Google Forms, and that was helpful because it'll give you a visual of the responses and it notifies you when people submit them, and it's free.
Yeah. Yep. Great question. It's interesting too, since COVID, a lot has changed. Some of us are meeting in person. Some of us still have members attending by Zoom. So it used to be that everyone came to the club meeting and you could just pass out the survey.
Yep.
Well, if you've got people on Zoom, that's not going to work. So there's other reasons to think about an electronic format besides just, as Jen was saying, it's easier to collect the data and generate the visuals and things like that. So, but that's part of what you should all be thinking about if you want to do one is, how is that going to be disseminated? How are you all going to get the feedback from the responses? And response rate is very important with surveys.
Jeff, I was going to say,
Yeah.
definitely use like a Google Forms or the one of the SurveyMonkeys, something like that. Sending out a paper that people open in Word or in Excel or something like that, just you're not going to get responses. It's got to be easy.
Agreed.
And may I mention that for those of us who are not technologically savvy, we have assistant governors and lieutenant governors who can assist you in putting this together.
Speaking of which, one thing I forgot to mention back up here, I'll just mention it quickly. The district has a strategic planning cadre to help clubs with strategic planning. If that's something that your clubs are not comfortable with or you're not comfortable with. So there's information on the district website. A number of people that are on this Zoom right now are part of the cadre, including myself and Dick Jones and Sonny and a number of others. So as the district's role is to support the clubs, we want to support the clubs in this area as well. So do not hesitate to reach out if you need help with that. Same thing with your assistant governors and lieutenant governors. Okay. Very meeting. Oh, was there a question? Okay. Vary your meeting format to include a mix of traditional and online meetings, service projects, and social gatherings. So this is interesting because as awful as COVID was, it lent itself to forcing us to vary meeting format. And now that thankfully, things are kind of more manageable. I didn't want to say we're going back to the old norm because we're really not. We're kind of in a new norm. Things that we learned during COVID, we're still doing. So here's an instance where a circumstance almost forced us to basically do something that we could have done proactively anyway, vary the meeting format. So this hyperlink here takes you to this. Club types, formats, and models. And again, you know, I'd be interested in Dick or Tom, Sunny, others from the district leadership team. Rotary has been very proactive over the last few years in promoting diversity in club types. You know, there used to be like a one size fits all, this is it. You know, e-clubs were kind of like the exception. But now we have all of these options and different models for club types, membership types. So, you know, there's a lot more versatility in what Rotary clubs look like than, let's say, 10 years ago. And to me, this is good. They're not promoting a one size fits all model. They're saying what works for your members, what works for your community, what works for your demographics. So you've got a lot of options and considerations that we really didn't have before. So again, I view this as a significant strength in Rotary now.
Would you
We have
scroll
options.
down, please?
Sure.
I think there's more. Just wanted to make sure everyone knew there's more.
Yep.
Jeff,
Yes.
if I may, I have been serving on the zone's new club development task force for a number of years. And the statistics that they are gathering are quite interesting. They're showing that about 80% of the growth in Rotary is coming from new clubs. Old clubs are basically staying about the same, but the growth in Rotary is generated by starting a new club in your area. The model is not really as critical as just having the new club. A lot of clubs are concerned that if they start a new club in their area, that they will be stealing members from an existing club. And statistics have shown that only about 11% of the members joining a new club have come from any Rotary club. So they're all people that are new to Rotary. And basically the whole concept is to create a club that fits the customer that we have not been serving. And I'll be talking a little bit about this at PETS. I'm glad to contact, if anyone will just email me, I'll be happy to talk to them or give them some direction. But this has been going quite well lately. Thank you.
That's great, Dick. Thank you.
Thank you, Dick. And may I also say, the flexibility we have in Rotary now even extends to our own already existing clubs. The requirement that we meet every week and have everyone attend is old now and not on the books. We aren't tracking attendance, although we encourage it because obviously that's where the fellowship and fun lies. And Rotary clubs are expected to meet at least twice a month, and within that can be a service project meeting, it can be a fellowship meeting. You can do a lot to vary the format and the content of your meetings to keep them interesting and engaging. So be bold.
Yep. And it's good to, each of these opens up a different Rotary document. I'll just show you a couple. So here's the guide to satellite clubs. Here's a guide to passport clubs. So each of these, and again, it's nice because all the links work. You can get more information about each of them. What's also interesting is what's been happening with Rotaract clubs. The whole model of Rotaract has evolved, where it used to be more like a college level support to Rotary, and now it's kind of its own thing. And Rotaract clubs are really, I don't want to say they're more important, but they have evolved. I mean, it's a different model. So again, this is very helpful. If you feel, yes.
Is it easy to find these links to know where to look?
Yes,
Find the
because you've got this, because it was sent out as an attachment. And right here, vary your meeting format. When you click on it, it opens this. And then once it opens this, then you can link and open all of these other documents.
You
So
have
this-
to go back to the website to find that again, correct?
If I understand your question, Donald, you've got this was sent as an attachment for the training today.
Right.
Have this document open on your computer and you just click on vary your meeting format. It will open this.
Okay.
The key is all of these documents are coming, most of them are coming from the Rotary website. In most cases, you don't have to be logged in for it to open the document. In some cases, it may say, go ahead and log in to get it. But like this one, it goes to the Rotary International website and it just opens the document. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think
that's
so.
why it's so important to have this electronic, because you've got all those links. Okay. We're going to do a couple more and then take a break. Communicate openly in your club. Share information at club meetings, through social media and so on. Again, I think for presidents-elect, openly is what's really important here. Be transparent and use the brand center. So if you give me 1 second. Okay. So this is the brand center. If you haven't seen it, it's wonderful. We also have excellent district resources on branding to make sure you're using the appropriate Rotary branding for your club. So be familiar with this. And this is one where, again, you can get to it without logging in. It's just a link on the Rotary website. But to get some of the information from it, you probably have to log in to get it. But it's nice. You can generate your logos. There's plenty of templates. People of Action is great for your social media postings, Facebook and Instagram, things like that. So there's a lot of information here, obviously, but Brand Center is a good place to kind of spend a little time and look around and see what's there if you have not already. I don't know if Eric or Arturo were on. Does anyone want to talk about a little bit more about Brand Center?
I will mention that the district has created a template logo for every club in the district. If you need that, get in touch with Eric Collings and he can provide it to you. And as you probably know, we're in the process of making our brands faithful to a constant logo. You'll see one in the lower left-hand corner there. Instead of just the wheel, we put Rotary with the wheel as often as we can in as many different ways as we can to make sure that people know who we are and what we're about and that we're all one.
And if you
So-
haven't seen it, your
Yeah,
club
very-
name or the district name goes right under the Rotary word in a smaller
Exactly.
font. So it still has Rotary, the wheel, and then your club name underneath.
Very important to have a club name or district name under there. Otherwise, it looks like it's coming from Rotary International. And they're probably, as much as they love you, they're probably not supporting and sponsoring your fundraiser.
So the bullet that mentioned the brand center, it said use the templates and resources in the brand center to create your club brochures, your newsletters, but everything, your social media, press releases, all the information you're going to be sending out. It's good to have your club's Rotary brand. I'm going to mute Leah if that's okay.
Thank you, yes.
I
And
hate
Rick
you.
has his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
Is this the location where we would also order the signage as people pull into town, where they have the signs of the different service clubs, where we would order one for Rotary?
I don't know, Rick, if that's in that center or not. I do know that Rotary has certain authorized people who will produce Rotary materials. One or the other will get you there, and Eric would be the one to talk to. I'll
Agreed.
put his number in the chat right now.
I think you need to go to Russell Hampton for that.
I think so. Russell
This
Hampton
is-
is the company that produces a lot of our Rotary materials.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, one more and then we'll take a break. Prepare members for future roles to smooth leadership transition. So several of you have already talked about your successor. I believe we have at least one person who's on today who is a president-elect or president-elect-elect. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you obviously have been prepared, otherwise you wouldn't be here today.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, this is important. Ensuring continuity. So, and I always have to think about the timetable here. So, for you all as incoming presidents, I'm assuming that you are currently serving on the board of the club as a president-elect. Is that true? Okay. So if you're serving on the board right now, the president of the club right now assembled his or her board, hopefully, by last December or January timeframe to report it to Rotary International.
Correct.
That's the timeline. So in an ideal world, an incoming president has roughly 18 months to prepare. Now, as we pointed out earlier, a lot of clubs don't identify their incoming president or president-elect as timely in play. If everyone follows the timeline, that's 18 months. And it also means that the next person would be in line at least 6 months before July. So the succession planning should be in place if your leadership is doing things in the time that Rotary International is recommending. Did I say that right? So if your clubs are fortunate enough, and if you are fortunate enough, work with those incoming leaders, not just with the plan that we talked about earlier, but everything. You know, you're a team. And like one of you had pointed out when we started, what you don't want unless the circumstances warrant is the person that's following you to make dramatic change, especially if things are going well. If things are not going well, then dramatic change may be warranted, right? But you want to ensure the continuity. And again, Rotary has provided us with a model of presidents-elect and 18 months of preparation and all of that. I mean, I don't know if Dick or Tom or Sonny or any of the other district leaders want to mention this, but as much as we recommend and kind of promote this timeline, a lot of clubs don't follow it, and it's just unfortunate. It's like we're losing time. And all of a sudden, if people only have a couple of months to prepare, they're likely not going to be as effective. It's not a guarantee. But if you've got 18 months, use the 18 months. And if the next person has 6 months, use the 6 months. Use as much time as you have. Tom Simon is our district governor nominee designate. He's got close to 3 years to prepare for being a governor. So the key is identify the people, identify potential leaders too. So as you're working with your club, and you know, in Presidents-elect, one of the most important things you can do this year is get a sense of the members. Who are the active ones? Who are the natural leaders that may not have been given a role yet? We have the Rotary Leadership Institute, which is a great opportunity for any Rotarian in the district to kind of grow in their leadership skills and knowledge. There's other things too, but look for people and kind of groom them and put them in positions where they can maybe start to do things and grow in the club. New members, same thing. You've got someone that's just joined the club and maybe they're on a committee and maybe you see that there's interest and they're active and they're kind of personally vibrant. Give them opportunities. You know, we always want to have people growing in our club. We want people growing at the district level, so that we have a bench, that we've got, you know, that continuity that we want to maintain, you know, how the club is doing.
One more thing on this point.
Yep.
Sometimes you come across a club, maybe one of yours is among them, where it's hard to find someone who is willing to be president next. And a couple of things come to mind here. One is that the more vibrant you make your club, the more ease there will be in enrolling people to be leaders in it, because people enjoy being on a winning team. Also, it's useful. This is just me talking. This is not Rotary policy. I find it useful to have a policy of no suffering. You know, you're a volunteer organization, and the idea is for people to be enjoying the experience. So do whatever you need to do to make sure people are being taken care of and that they're having an experience that makes them want to be a leader. And Martin has his hand up.
Yes, I had just one comment on this whole thing. I had 2.5 years to prepare for my presidency. And so there was a lot of things I was able to do. I started going to a lot of the committees, a lot of the projects that we do, just so I can get familiar with them. But in my mind, I thought, well, if I start in January, I don't start till July, I have 6 months to start prepping. Well, I missed the early registration for Rotary International because I completely forgot about that. Then in January, they're like, Martin, who's your board? I was like, what do you mean, who's my board? Well, we need to announce it in February. And I was like, what's going on? I thought I gave myself plenty of time. And then I felt very rushed. And I was like, I'm already starting on the wrong foot. But maybe sometime the year before in the November timeframe, say, hey, President-elects, here's the stuff that you need to do, including looking at Rotary International Conference, because I missed the deadline for that. And then I had to rush because it's in Australia this year, and I had to rush to get my flights and the hotel, and I was already behind the 8 ball. So just an FYI, maybe on those, and maybe it should have been somebody in my club that told me, but maybe you guys can also send a, hey, here's a list of things that maybe a president-elect needs to do way in advance. 6 months, not enough time.
Thank you, Martin. We're creating a master calendar for presidents. You'll have it at PETS when we meet in person.
And there's also a practical issue, I think, with what you're suggesting. So I don't know if Governor-elect Richard is, or maybe Governor nominee Usser, but in the past, when we have wanted to communicate, let's say, with current presidents-elect, you all, back in August, when we would log into our district website to grab the current presidents-elect, a lot of clubs had not identified them yet, or they hadn't put them in the system. So doesn't mean we shouldn't communicate with the ones who are in the system, but a lot of the clubs hadn't done that yet. And I think Danette will talk about that at the next pre-peds of how important it is once you've identified the presidents-elect and all of that, to put them in Club Runner for exactly that reason, so that you get the information that you need to make decisions and plan and things like that. But again, I think going back to what Tom Walker was saying earlier, a lot of clubs don't either enter their goals when they're supposed to, but they also don't enter their boards, their incoming presidents, things like that. We're trying to do better. Hi, Arturo. But that is a chronic issue of just not having all the people identified in a timely manner. Did I say that right, everyone?
Yes. And by the way, note that you want to enter it in the appropriate Rotary here also.
Yes. Oh, Gordon, go ahead.
If a club hasn't entered their president-elect and other officers, can an AG do that for that club?
I think technically, yes.
I think
Be very
so.
careful that it is with their knowledge and permission.
Yeah, I'm sure Danette would know, but I don't know for sure. I think that would be a good.
Bring that up next week, Gordon, just to be sure.
Yeah.
Because Donette will be telling us how to work Club Runner.
Okay, thanks.
The
Thank
only
you.
other thing I wanted to mention here before we take our break is the second bullet. So the Rotary Learning Center, where you can take courses, there's information on being a club president and so on. There are courses for incoming board roles, mainly committee chairs. So you've got secretary, treasurer, membership chair, Rotary Foundation chair, things like that. It's good once you've identified the people who are going to be stepping into those roles for them to take the online courses. The district also offers courses to incoming board members like secretaries and so on. But these ones on the Rotary Learning Center, they're a lot better than they were a few years ago. So avail yourself of this opportunity as well. The main thing is that they, just like you all as presidents-elect, you're being prepared, so should those incoming board members if they've not served in those roles. Okay, it is 10:30. Why don't we take a 15-minute break and we will come back at 10:45. And I'll stay on and others may stay on if people have questions, and I will stop sharing. And I will. Thank you, Jen. Okay. Adapt your club's bylaws to reflect the way the club works. So there is a recommended Rotary Club bylaws document. It looks like this. Again, it's a hyperlink and it just opens if you've got your intranet and the Rotary website. Most of your clubs, if not all of them, already have bylaws. So this template may be worth taking a look at, but in reality, what's going to likely be more important is to look at your current bylaws and determine if any adjustments need to be made. So here, I definitely want input from Dick and Tom and Sunny and others. Rotary has, for every club, a constitution which cannot be changed. All that you're adding is your club name and club number. And that constitution is sent out to clubs once every 3 years, I believe. So it was sent out earlier this year, this Rotary year. So for the next year or two, unless something happens, your club constitution would not be changing. Did I get that right, everyone?
Yes, the Council on Legislation meets every third year, and that's where these changes come from. And normally, the council met mid-April last year, the so-called manual of procedure, which contains this, the recommended bylaws, the Constitution, RI bylaws, and the RI Constitution. Those documents are in the manual of procedure. They are made available generally mid-June, late June, following the council. For the standard club constitution, the name and number and the locality are about the only things you can change, unless you're grandfathered. Your club was established so long ago that you're grandfathered, and there's so lest that be a concern for you. Nobody in our district is grandfathered.
Thank you, Tom. So with that, with the Constitution not being something you're going to adapt, the bylaws is. So it's really important, if you have not already done so, to take a deep dive into the current bylaws of your club and determine if any adjustments need to be made. As an example, again, with COVID, all of a sudden we were not meeting in person. So things changed. And then as we got out of COVID, some clubs went back to meeting in person. Some are doing online and in person. So again, as circumstances arise, or as you and the leadership make decisions about adjustments, the bylaws should reflect those, because that's what they're for. And once they've been adjusted, then you want to make sure that the club is adhering to them. So this is the time, just like with planning, to go over your bylaws, see if they're still relevant, see if they need to be adjusted, either because of something happening now or because of something you are projecting. But you want them to reflect the club as much as possible, whereas the Constitution is standard, as Tom was saying. So one example, and I'd be interested in hearing others, because of online meetings, some clubs now have members that are not in their geographic area because they moved, but they're logging in on Zoom and participating, or they're participating in service projects, whatever it is. If that's the case, the bylaws need to reflect that maybe not all the members are in the geographic area that the club identified. That's just one example. There may be others. Does anyone want to, who's been part of this, maybe present a scenario where the bylaws needed to be adjusted because of circumstances or other factors?
The Silver City Club just amended its bylaws to make clear exactly who the club officers are now and how the board is composed. It differs from what we had before because that structure had about half the club on the board.
Yeah.
One possibility is if, like the Rotary Club of Albuquerque, that's hybrid, and you hold a election by voice vote, making it obvious that you don't have to be in the room to vote. You can, if you're a member and you're logged in on Zoom, you can vote that way too. So there's, all sorts of little things like that.
There are also conditions of required percentage of meetings to attend that have been changing recently, and some of our bylaws may not reflect that.
Right.
point.
In the president's manual, which if you haven't seen it, you will. One of the things I like about the club president's manual is the first page or two, it typically will let you know recent changes. They may have been from the council legislation that Tom talked about. So there may be fairly new things that it's important for the presidents-elect to know, and then it goes into the, you know, kind of the general information that you need to know. Okay, any questions then about this? Again, just most important thing is just get familiar with them and start thinking about what adjustments you may need to make. Okay. Develop strong relationships within your club. We already talked a little bit about this in previous discussions, but it's part of engagement, right? It's hard to be engaged if you don't have relationships with the people you're engaged with. I hope I said that right. Here is the introduction or introducing new members to Rotary. I like this one too. See smiling people just like you are. I find it interesting, you know, it's like, all right, we're going to develop a Rotary little pamphlet. We need smiling people. So we'll find some smiling people. But they don't have Rotary pins though.
Well, because they're new. They're new. They don't.
They may
they
not
haven't-
have their.
Yeah, they may not have them yet, Jeff.
Okay. All right.
On
So
the
this
verge of
has,
being inducted.
I'm sorry.
On the verge of being inducted.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay. Bottom line. This manual has a few nice recommendations in it, like the other ones do. Having a new member orientation program. You know, have a process in the club for new members, including vetting, like before they join. We always talk about in the Rotary Leadership Institute, the best or one of the best strategies for engaging members is to engage them before they're members, make sure they're a good fit. Because if they're not a good fit, they're not going to be engaged in all likelihood. So have a new member orientation program. A lot of clubs have, I want to call it like a club trainer, someone who would like introduce new members to what Rotary is all about, what the club is all about, things like that. Some, you know, information on what to cover. We just talked about that. Assigning a mentor. So a lot of clubs have mentorship programs where the new member gets someone assigned to them in the club. It could be the sponsor, but it doesn't have to be. But someone that will kind of show them the ropes. How does the club operate? How do you get involved in committees? You know, things like that. But someone who is kind of like a friend available to help answer questions, things like that. The worst thing that you can have happen, and I'm preaching to the choir here, is that someone is new to the club, but they're not assimilated. They're kind of off because the club hasn't brought them in and kind of got them into the fabric of the club. So a mentor is a really nice way to do that. Involve and connect them, you know, make sure that they have a role. I always, well, I shouldn't say always, but sometimes I get the statistic wrong. I'm sure Dick can correct me. But let's just say that a large percent of people that join Rotary leave within 3 years of them joining. Because they didn't get engaged, and it's not on them, it's on the club.
It's about half, isn't it, Governor Tom?
This is Dick, and yes, it is half.
Yeah. I thought it was half. I just didn't want to state it in case I misstated it. And that's huge.
It's a
And again,
shocking statistic.
It's
yes.
not on them. It's not on them.
No.
It's on the club.
Arturo has his hand up.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Arturo.
Thank you. And you brought a really good point. And you know, we always talk about membership and how important membership is one of the 3 priorities of Rotary. And, you know, recruiting is as important as retaining. So this is a key part of keeping our members engaged. So I think it's crucial that we keep the members that are in, you know, and what Jeff is covering is how do we make sure that they're active as they join. So just food for thought.
It also has a bullet here, sit with different people at each meeting. I've heard a lot of really good stories about how clubs engage members by doing different things to have them sit with different people and so on. What I do, because we still have a lot of people on Zoom, is I'll move them in different boxes on the screen. That doesn't work as well as them sitting at different tables at the meeting, but I tried. But this is one of those where you can try new things. You know, I mean, I've heard some really interesting ideas for how to get people more engaged. And again, this would be an opportunity in those area presidents council meetings that we have for all of the club presidents to share ideas about what's working in their clubs. Okay, any other thoughts on engaging the members and developing strong relationships? Okay. This one is similar. Make sure all members are involved in activities that genuinely interest them. All right, so I don't know if this is a dumb question, but it's a question. How can you do this? If you're an incoming president, how can you make sure that all members are involved in activities that genuinely interest them? What would be, let's say, the first thing you would do?
I'm actually thinking that one of my goals is going to be to take new members to lunch. And then that's how I would figure out what really interests them and then what committees I think I'd be able to plug them into.
Okay, so if I can ask a follow-up question, Maria, how would the lunch address this? That is, what would have to happen during your lunch that would allow this to happen?
I mean, I feel like I would get to know them and then I would be asked, I would let them know about how our different committees work, what we're doing as a big club, what our goals are, and then ask them to consider what might help them be genuinely interested in our club by engaging them. Something like that.
Okay. So the notion here, and it's really in this first bullet, is you have to ask. Right? You can't assume. And you also can't assume that everyone has the same interests, right? So if I ask 3 people randomly, I'll get 3 answers, but that doesn't mean that that represents the club. So however you do this, you want to make sure you have a good sense of the membership generally, but also individually. As an example, some clubs, let's see how I say it. So international service is really important in Rotary, but not every single person that joins is interested in international service, right? Now, it would be nice if every person that joined Rotary was interested, and maybe over the years that they're in Rotary, they get interested, but I want to know what interests them so that we can cater to their needs. Okay, we got hands up. Let's start with Tom.
Okay. One of the values of having a mentor is to ask those questions that Maria wants to ask when she takes somebody to lunch. And that's really to engage them in some committee, not only to ask them what their interests are, but then to introduce them to the committee chair who's responsible for that. So the more connections that new member can make to different people in the club, the stronger their connection to the club and the more likely they are to remain in it.
Agreed. Excellent. Thank you. Bianca?
At our recent new member orientations, we shared a committee list and asked our 2 new members who were there to pick a committee. And at the following meeting, I introduced them to the committee chair.
Perfect.
So did it right there at the orientation.
Perfect. One other thing that we sometimes overlook that could fit here too are things like those Rotary action groups and fellowships. Right? So yes, we'd like to get them involved in committees in the club. That's great. But if they're interested in water and sanitation, it's like, oh, there's an action group you can join for that. So we also want to promote those other opportunities for members to get involved that are not necessarily club specific. I hope I said that right.
Yes.
And again, get them involved early. You know, my mentor, I loved her. She was awesome. And the first thing she said to me is, don't wait to be asked. Step up. Yeah, I mean, I ultimately would have been asked, but she said, take initiative, learn what's going on and figure out what's a good fit. And she was right. I mean, there's no reason for a new member to kind of wait. Make the connections. And as we were talking about before, ultimately, we should have an idea of what interests them before they join. That would be even better. Just in case. I guess the other thing here is that Rotary has been promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. And our Rotary clubs may be right now quite diverse in terms of member demographics, member interests. If that's the case, then your approach may not be a single approach because there may be certain members that like certain things. So the more you understand, the more you can cater to their needs and have active, engaged, vibrant members. And by the way, if your club is not diverse, maybe that would be one of your strategies to increase the diversity in your club. Okay, we've got about 45 minutes left. We've got a few more to go through. How is this going? Any questions, thoughts? I'd like to hear more from you all. I don't want it to be me talking. So any thoughts, questions, anything you want to interject?
I think Maria was about to say something. No?
Okay.
Jeff, can I mention something real fast?
got
This
it.
happened during the break, and I don't know if everybody was in, but there was a club that wanted to change the name of the club to make it more inclusive within the region. I think that's a great example of kind of thinking, how do we open it to more people to be able to join? So, you know, those are things that you're highlighting and how crucial it is that it doesn't mean to be inclusive just on areas of interest, demographics, but also thinking how we can, you know, make it a time that more people can attend, some of the different things that can address that inclusivity. Just food for thought, but I think it was brought up and it was a great example for that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Arturo. That is a great point. Gordon.
Oh, sorry.
It's possible that what a new member is interested in, your club does not do. So the idea here would be is to get behind that new member, and maybe they could lead an effort in the area they're interested in.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. Again, that's getting outside of the kind of the OG, right? New
OG?
people, new idea- yeah, old guard,
Oh, thank you.
new people, new ideas.
Martin has his hand up too.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And just to follow up also, if you're in an area like here in El Paso, we have several clubs in El Paso. So there are some times when I'm talking to a prospective member and they say, you know what, I just can't make it downtown. I live on the east side of town. I said, you know what, the East Side Club meets at this time. Why don't you go and visit them during the time? Because it's not just, you know, we have to be helping everybody. So there's been several times when I've recommended people visit other clubs that are closer to where they are to make them a more viable member for that club. So I didn't get them on my club. That's okay. They joined Rotary anyway.
That's great, Martin.
Thank you.
And
One
Jeff,
other thing-
Jeff, I don't know whether this fits here. We were talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a reminder that we all have an invitation, indeed an imprecation to look hard at our own clubs and make sure that they are actually welcoming to new members. So that can be very subtle. It can be, do you have greeters, and do you make a point of having new people sit with you, and do you find out about them, and do you make them feel like they matter? Because it's very easy to let that all slide.
That's great, Sunny. Thank you. It dawned on me as you all were talking, and I think I thought about this once before, but I really didn't meditate on it. As an incoming president, and you're thinking about the membership, it seems like two words that you really need to focus on are each and all. So that you've got some understanding and appreciation of each member. And I think, like Maria was saying, get to know them, take them lunch, understand them. So there's an each mentality, but there's also an all mentality. There's some unifying, common goals, things that the club wants to accomplish. So I think as a president, and maybe this will come out more in the PETS itself, how do you balance that focus or the appreciation of each member in the club and still have some focus on the club as a whole? Any thoughts on that?
I have a question and a comment for the rest. This is Paula from the Las Cruces Rio Grande Rotary. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
When you say the each and the whole, what you just said was just excellent. The thing that I would like to make sure we're balancing well is how Rotary is changing, but include the pride that the long-term members have in never missing a meeting. So we have been changing our club, and that is one of the first concerns that we see, and we are growing our club, but new members, it isn't even so much always the dues. It's, I can't make all of these meetings. And so we've addressed it. We talk about it. We're changing our documents, but at the same time, we have long-term members on the membership committee and new members. And we don't want, how do we say all this? So we don't want, because I think sometimes the older members feel like, well, geez, this should be this way. Why isn't it? So any thoughts from anybody on that?
I'd love to hear from current presidents who may also be assistant governors, since we haven't heard from you as a group yet. Any thoughts on that? It's a great question.
Hello, this is Andres. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hello? This is Andres. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Great point. I am part of the new generation in terms of trying to recruit. I've come to have conversations with some of the members who have been Rotarians for a long time, and that's been some of their concerns as well in our club. And the satellite concept has come up on our club, and there was a lot of conversations that were not meeting everybody's needs as to how do we move forward. So it is a real problem or situation, I would say, that needs to be addressed, for example, in our club. And it's interesting because we see how the dynamics of attendance is hard for the new members. Even though we have Zoom meetings, and we've had them before COVID, actually, with one of our members who moved, and she stayed active in COVID hit, there was conversations to figure out how do we get those new members engaged or recruit for new members who cannot make the meetings. But yet on the other side, some of the older members were wanting to make sure that we still did the fellowship. And that's been kind of tricky to kind of coordinate. But one of the things what I'm hearing is figuring out meeting times for fellowship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff, if I may.
Yes, please.
There is kind of a dichotomy of folks that have, been in Rotary for a long time and they want to have that fellowship and sit down and have breakfast or lunch or whatever it may be. And then you have the newer folks that, maybe can't make a breakfast or a lunch, but they want to participate. And so, yeah, it's tough for the clubs, especially ones that are so ingrained in tradition and have been around for a long time. And you have a lot of members that have a lot of tenure. And so one thing to think about is bringing in new members. You can have meetings that are, events, if you will, so that you can give to the community, and that can be or I know some of the clubs, like Jeff's club, they have evening meetings once or twice a month to kind of accommodate the folks that can't make that. So I don't know if that's a help at all, because then it's kind of a transition where you can do both.
Thank you. Maria?
Also, Paula. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Maria. I'll go after you.
Oh, I was gonna say that in our Del Norte club, I think what Mary Tiemann, our current president, has done really, really good working with her committees on is we seem to are able to address our old guard. I really like that, which I realized I'm like part of the old guard because I was like, we got to start meeting again every single week. What's going on? And then once you actually really dig for the interest as to why the members are longing for the every single lunch, then what we've done is we've understand its fellowship. So we've able to schedule basically once a week. There is an opportunity for you to either go to a satellite club, a host club event. We have this awesome, our public service, Sherry, has got these pop-up happy hours. Well, she'll just send out an email to all the members that say, hey, pop-up happy hour at, I think we just went to like Route 66 or something, or Seasons 52. You don't need to RSVP, just show up. And so we're offering our members an opportunity, if we can, once a week, really, it's kind of crazy, to be involved. And so I think when you really dig for the interests for your older members like that, you can actually help them get re-excited about your club. I think that's what I'm hoping.
That pop-up sound is good because when we have events and we say we're going to have one, I can see some of the members who are the ones who are doing a lot of work going, oh boy, another thing to plan. But if we just call it a pop-up thing, I think that would work. So that's a great idea. And you're right about the fellowship. And I'm just trying to find ways that we continue to recognize our old guard while gently saying we recognize that, because everyone's all good people. They all want new members. So, it's a way of finding the balance of acknowledging both or the whole spectrum. And so I thought that each and all was a good comment.
That's great. Thank you. It says here, conduct a member interest survey. That sounds kind of formal. What you all talked about, just getting to know people, engaging with them, and kind of gleaning from them what their interests are, can be equally, if not more, effective. The main thing is just learn and understand. And what a perfect opportunity as a president-elect to use this time to learn. I know there's some clubs where the president-elect oversees the big event for the club that year, whether it's a fundraiser or something. I like that notion too, because it provides an opportunity to learn about the people, if you don't already. Like, who are the doers? Who are the planners?
Yeah.
Who are the ones that have their hands crossed sitting in the back? So there's
Yeah.
different ways to kind of get that information as long as you've got it.
Yeah. One thing our current president does very well is she presents some things to talk about on an administrative meeting, because we meet Tuesdays for lunch. And most recently, she said, you know, we have this much bandwidth and these things have changed. One of our annual community things is phasing out just because of changing times, et cetera. And then RILA is coming back on. And Rotary Youth Exchange is coming on, and we have these things to think about and judge whether we can do them or not, and what other ideas you have. So then she had the tables talk about it for like 10 minutes, and each of us share their thoughts. And so I sat with the old guard, and you know, it was interesting and an easy way to learn a lot, because one thing I learned is that many of them are the primary caregivers to their spouse, so they can't come to evening things. So that is a really important fellowship to them. They can work out that Tuesday lunchtime. So that was, you know, important to keep in mind. And the second thing is that many of them felt like every project we're doing, does it serve the many or does it serve the few? And so is it worthwhile? You know, does it serve lots of children or just a few children, or lots of people in the community or just a few? So, you know, I think when I'm president, I'm going to do more of that, because that was one of the few times I've heard all of these old guards talk as much as they did. And I just listened like a sponge. So I just want to throw that out there.
Oh, that's great.
That's
Paula.
great.
Great. Okay, let's move on. We've got 2 more to get through, and then we want to leave about 10 minutes before we end for some wrap up. Okay, coach new and continuing members in leading. So there's a great word. As a leader, coach, and may not be you, it may be other people, but help the members grow. You know, we talked before about preparing members for future roles to smooth leadership transitions. This is a little bit more formal, like getting them on committees and so on. This is coaching, and there is a leadership and action guide. Let me pull that up for a minute. Again, it's nice document. It's got some good advice. Talks about engaging current members and attracting professionals in the community, things like that. I'm not going to go through this one in as much detail. It's just this one pager. But the main thing, let me go back to our Vibrant Club. The notion of a trainer or a training committee, not just for the new members, but maybe over the course of the year, a couple of like club assemblies on different topics. Like, for example, how does the Rotary Foundation work? And how are we as a club involved in the foundation, whether it's on the donation side or global grants, things like that. So there's always opportunities for the members to learn. The question is, where are they going to learn from? What resources are we providing them? Some of it may be at the district level, like Rotary Leadership Institute, like the assembly that Sunny talked about. But what can we do within the club to help our members grow in their Rotary experience? I don't know I don't know the exact wording of the quote. My guess is Sunny does, but something like, if you're not growing, you're dying. Is that the quote, Sunny?
There is one like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of morbid, but the bottom line is we always want growth.
Without vision, the people perish. There's that one too.
I like that one. In the corporate world, where we have a lot of competition, and by the way, Rotary, we have competition, right? There's other civic organizations and things. So when you have competition, it's also important, because if we're not growing, others are. And if we're in a competitive marketplace, whether it's for members or dollars or sponsors, whatever it is, if we're not, and the growth comes from the people. So if our people are growing, that is good. If they're not, then we're kind of static. And if we're static, others around us may be growing. So in fact, we end up losing. So just think about opportunities for the members to learn and grow and become
Jeff?
leaders. Yes. Mhm.
It's useful, I think, for all of us, presidents-elect or otherwise, to think about for each member what's in it for them. You know, we know, for example, that people join for service and fellowship and stay for fellowship and service. Some people actually join because they'd like to hone leadership skills or because they do want an opportunity sometimes for networking. And those are things that Rotary clubs weave into their plans rather successfully.
Absolutely. Yeah. Arturo?
Yes, I just wanted to highlight something that Martin mentioned, which I think is key. I think the competition is not among Rotary clubs. And I want to highlight something that the Sunrise Club does, talking about the importance of networking. They host a social every month to all the clubs in the area. So that's an idea for the other areas that they have multiple clubs to have this type of activities. So people can network with other people, not only from their clubs.
Thank you, Arturo. I'm going to go out on a limb here. This was not scripted, but given the discussion, I'd be curious. If I had a poll, I would bring it up. As presidents-elect, who is your primary customer? Anyone?
Members, I think.
Members?
I'm sorry, one at a time, please. And I realize we have a lot of people, so go ahead.
The members.
The members, okay.
I said the board.
The board, interesting. Any other thoughts? Okay.
I think the people that we're trying to serve through our projects.
The people that we are, and by we, you mean the club?
Yes, that the club is engaged with. For the Tier C Rotary Club, our main focus has always been and always will be scholarships for children, so that we can educate our youth and move them forward into the workplace through college. So that's who we serve.
Okay, so I think what you all
Chris, were
said.
you about to say something?
I'm sorry?
I thought you were about to say something, sorry.
Yeah, I was thinking, going along with what Kathy just said, it's the community. That's our customers. It's the community that we serve. Seems.
Okay, so what's interesting is, and I was listening very carefully to the words you used. And in certain cases, you said this is who we serve, or our customer. And in other cases, you said, here's who I serve, or my customer. That's what I heard. So it may not be uniform across all of us, but there's different relationships between provider and customer, if provider is the right word. You, as an incoming president, you serve certain people or groups, including the members, the board, as Bianca said. The club, as a provider, serves the community, right? So there's different customer-provider relationships. And I would again say, as a president-elect, you want to understand those relationships. And if you, as an incoming president, are serving the members, including the board, for a certain purpose, like, well, how's that going to work? Ultimately, you want the club to be in the best position to serve its customers, projects and community service and things like that. So I think through all of this, being a vibrant club, you're like a leadership instigator. You know, you're like fostering and promoting and nurturing and all those types of things to have a club be more vibrant so it can better serve the needs of the community and the others that the club serve. That sounded a little preachy. Sorry about that, but okay. The last one here is creating practical committees, and a number of you have already talked about committees. Practical is a bit of a stretch, and I mean that lovingly. I'd like to think that every committee is practical. Some of them are, they exist, but you want them to be practical for several reasons. One is going back up here to these two, kind of the strategic planning ones. The committees are going to do a good amount of the work, not all of it. But like if you have a membership committee, they're going to be doing certain things. If you have a public image committee, they're going to be doing certain things. Every committee should be doing things that align with what you want the club to be like in 3 to 5 years, the annual goals. So committees serve a very practical function. They are doing work, but they're not doing all of it, but they're doing a lot of it. There's some bullets here on the notion of small versus large clubs, and it is important that every club, regardless of its size, can accomplish its goals. And if it's a smaller club, there may not be as many goals. There may just be a few. And there may not be as many committees. And that's fine. The notion is, as you as a club president or an incoming club president, to kind of assess the structure of those committees, the ones that, let's say, are already in place. Maybe you need to make some adjustments to the committees to help accomplish future goals. The makeup of those committees, who's serving on them. So again, in your role, you have a lot of flexibility in terms of either creating new committees or making adjustments to current committees. And keep in mind, if you make changes to the committees themselves, let's say you add a committee, that may affect the bylaws. If you've got the committees, you know, set up and described in your bylaws. But you in your role want to be thinking about the purpose of the committees, what role are they going to serve, make sure that you have in place the committees that are going to serve the purposes that you're looking for, and that you've got the people on the committees to make the committees, to put the committees in a better position to be successful. And the only other thing I want to say, and again, I feel like I'm preaching a little bit here, committees are not limited to just members of the club. If you've got an Interact club, you can have interactors on your committee. If you've got a Rotaract club, you can have Rotaractors on your committee. You can have members of the community services that you support, like the charities and other groups serve. So do not think that the club committees must only be comprised of club members.
That's a good point. May I also mention, if your bylaws have locked you into committees, you might want to change your bylaws. Committees don't need to be detailed in the bylaws, and you lose some flexibility when you do that.
Right. The important thing is make sure that every committee has a clear purpose and that they understand that purpose, that they're not just doing things, that they're unified around some goal or some objective that they're trying to accomplish. Martine, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a comment on the committees. I know coming into the club that I've heard that our club used to be almost twice the size that we are now. And so one of the things that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get together with some of the people on my team is review the committees we currently have, because we may have too many. And right now we're having a hard time getting people on committees. And I think maybe it's because these committees were created several years ago when our club was bigger. And now's the time to look at them and see, do we need to maybe consolidate some of the committees so that we can get a little bit more, or are they not needed as much as they were several years ago? So that is going to be one of the things I do, because I know we're not successful in getting volunteers for all the committees we have right now.
That's a great point. And that's, again, in the time that you're a president-elect, these are the things you should be thinking about, not in July. Come July, stuff's going to be happening. You've got a lot going on. This is the time to think and reflect and look at things and ask questions and get all that clarity so that come July, you are ready to go. Okay, we have a few minutes before we're going to have our closing. What are the next steps? Any other questions, comments, thoughts? We don't have a post poll like we did the original poll, because that was really more to get kind of a sense of your club's current state. Our hope is that this flyover that we did, and we did a little bit of a deep dive, at least gives you some more things to think about and to get in your mind maybe some clarity on how you want to go forward. Because ultimately, that's our job, is to prepare you to be the best presidents you can be, so that your clubs can either become vibrant, stay vibrant, be more vibrant, any of that. So if you leave here with questions, that's a good thing. And again, it's up to the assistant governors and the district trainers and all the others to help. We didn't expect that all your questions are going to be answered today. We just want to make sure that you understand kind of the universe of your upcoming presidential term. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. And again, we've got a few minutes before we close. So Sunny, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Before we go into the completion announcements, I'd like to hear from you about whether there are questions left unanswered that you'd like addressed now, or things you would like to be sure we address at a later date. This is an open forum. Anyone, anything?
I have a quick question. And
yes, Anders.
You had mentioned about the attendance part, that Rotary clubs are changing to kind of put in place that they meet twice a month in terms of members.
Let me clarify that. That's not exactly what I meant to say. Rotary clubs are asked to meet at least twice a month. That's Rotary International's guideline. In terms of attendance, Rotary International no longer tracks attendance. So we aren't reporting it the way we used to, nor are we implementing, there used to be a rule a long time ago that if you missed 4 meetings, you were pretty much resigning from Rotary. That's no longer the case. People recognize that life happens and that sometimes you will miss a meeting, and we're not tracking it the same way. However, we also really encourage people to attend meetings, because that's where the action is, and that's where the friendships are, and that's what makes Rotary vibrant. Is that clearer?
It is, and it actually brings me to another point, that maybe figuring out a way to send or create a language that is spoken, especially to new members, about the attendance policy, because I keep hearing from the old guard in terms of, we used to be very strict on attendance, but now it's changed, and it's kind of very vague, and you got new members who have
Right.
been in the meetings for a couple of years, and they said, but yeah, you don't have to come every time. So as I'm transition to this new position, that's one of the things I've picked up so far about how we speak about attendance.
That's
From the
such a good point, Andres. You know, we also forget to mention that there are a multitude of ways to do a makeup, which keeps you in the loop. You know, by attending an Interact meeting, a Rotaract meeting, a board meeting, a fellowship event, an international convention, you know, there's so many different things you can do. And all of those reinforce the Rotary experience. We could certainly draft something you could use. I bet you could probably do it yourself at this point, but we're happy to help. The point is, come as often as you can. We need you and want you. And if you can't come for some reason, you're not invited to feel guilty about it or to feel that you are less than a Rotarian.
Sunny,
Yeah.
can I add something? I think that's one thing that has worked for our club here in Deming. I started doing that with members. I started calling them and just saying, hey, just a friendly reminder, we have a Rotary meeting today. We would love to see you. We miss seeing you in the meetings, and it has incremented our participation a lot. And we're getting new members too.
Very nice, Gladys. Thank you. Anyone else? Anything at this point? Okay, thank you for the question. So now time for announcements. So first of all, thank you all so much for being here and for your participation. You've been awesome. And I can tell that you've been engaged, whether you've been talking a lot or not. Let me just quickly mention that there are two other pieces to pets. I bet you all know this by now. You've probably seen a million emails from me. Next week, the 25th of February, part 2 will be virtual. You'll be getting an email about that. So please be sure you registered on the district website for part 2, the virtual one, and we will be sending out a Zoom link. We'll also be sending out information that you will want for that session. The two topics we will talk about next week, one will be our District Secretary, Donette Wagner, walking us through how to use Club Runner and the Rotary.org website most effectively. So you'll definitely want to be there for that. We'll talk about goals, how to put goals in Rotary Club Central, how to find the resources that are available to you, and possibly even how to use other resources. Then, so please enter your officers in Rotary Club, in Club Runner, the officers for 23 and 24 on the district website under Club Runner. The second thing we'll be doing is talking about the roles and responsibilities of a club president. And for that, we'll be sending you a PDF of a manual that club presidents have used and instructions on how to access additional materials in the Learning Center. And you'll be getting the link. Any questions about next Saturday? I see none. I'm not looking at all the pages here. Okay. One more piece. We will be meeting in person in Las Cruces on March 3rd and 4th for part 3 in person, excuse me. We'll meet from noon on March 3rd, which is Friday, until 5 p.m. on Saturday. There'll be a break for sleeping. Registration will start at 11 on Friday. But you can register now on the district website, and I strongly encourage you to do that. If you do so by Monday, there is a pretty deep registration discount. So please make sure you do that. We'll be at the Hotel Encanto in Las Cruces, and I just talked to them yesterday. Their original special Rotary rate was going to terminate yesterday, but they've extended it to February 22nd. So if you wanted to stay at the Encanto, you can stay there for $119 a night plus tax if you reserve your room by by Wednesday. Tom, question or comment?
Question on that one.
Yes. When Deb and I checked rooms, there wasn't anything available on Saturday night. I didn't call the hotel, I did it online. So at the moment, at least, we're planning on leaving, we are planning on leaving early, but because we have things going on Sunday, but I'm just wondering if you checked the hotel and do they actually have rooms available, even though you can't seem to do it online?
I don't know anything about the online registration. I do know that when I talked to them yesterday, they still had rooms. So
Okay.
that might be a miscommunication between the two. If anyone needs a Saturday night room and can't find it, have them get in touch with me. Eileen, question?
Oh, I tried to register for a room this morning very early. And
Yes.
I clicked on the thing on the our website about connecting with the hotel, and it said that's not available anymore. So then I went through a different route to register and I got 127 instead of 119.
Okay, I will be calling them.
I registered last night, and I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I registered last night and I just called them, and as soon as I told them the Rotary training, they were able to give me the rate. I don't know if maybe something is going on with the website, but I will recommend just calling them better.
That's what I did as well. I didn't, online, you can't find the rate. I called her, talked to her. She says, oh, yep, found your rate here. And it is a significant discount. So I do recommend that you just call and ask for the rate.
Thank you, Martine. That sounds like the way to go. I'm not sure why that happened, but I'm glad to know there's a way around it. Kathy and then Marie.
Just a quick one, because I'm within driving distance of Las Cruces. What time are activities ending on Friday and starting again on Saturday?
Friday evening, we'll be going until 8 or 8:30. We have an evening program. And Saturday, we will be completing by 5. We will have a special event for people who are staying. We'll be going to dinner
Right.
together, those who want to.
But in the morning, what time on Saturday would it start?
Room opens at 8, program starts at 8:30.
Okay.
Thank you. Marie.
Yes, I registered yesterday for the weekend meeting in Cruces.
Okay.
My husband, who is also a Rotarian, would like to join the meeting. Now, can I still register him?
Yes, absolutely.
Just go on the
Absolutely.
club, just go on the
Yep,
Club Runner and
just
take
do it
care of it.
on Club Runner, register him.
Okay.
And don't forget, if you're unable to come on March 3rd and 4th, and you are a president-elect, make sure someone from your club comes to represent you, because we'll be doing a lot of stuff your club will want to know. Just so you know, the program for that weekend is going to be different from some we've done in the past. We'll be structuring this for maximum interaction. We want you to get to know each other, to find out what each other is doing, and to be able to use one another as resources. So we'll be having a lot of panels, a lot of breakouts, possibly some games. And we want you to bring as many questions as you can possibly marshal so that we get them all addressed. Are there any, I have a question for you. Those of you who are planning to stay on Saturday, because it is a long drive for some of you after 5 o'clock Saturday, we'll be putting together a dinner at the Cattle Baron for those who are interested in joining us. And we'd like to get a preliminary sense of how many of you are interested in joining us for that. That would be Dutch. We'll all be paying for ourselves, but we will have our own room and be able to hang out together. So if you know you're staying Saturday and think you'd like to join us for dinner, could you give us just a show of hands now so that we can check on that? Tom, Laura, Leah, me, Camry. Hold on, I'm changing to another screen here. Keep your hands up if you're coming.
And some are
Carol,
doing the
Carol.
Zoom hands.
Yeah, I may or may not.
I may not, sure, maybe the Morpha contingent, that would be great. So it looks, Leah, like between 10 and 15 at the moment.
And I have a +1, so I
Okay,
add.
great.
Yes, I
Thank
have
you.
eight as well.
Great. Okay,
I have reservation right now for about 20, but if I let them know, they can put us, all together in the same room and stuff like that, they said.
okay.
So, okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're
Okay.
very welcome.
Appreciate you, Leah, for setting that up.
No
Now,
problem.
I'll be doing a survey of all of you after part 3. So you can give me your feedback, give all of us your feedback on what was useful and what you would like to change. Keep notes if you would. And if there's anything in the meantime that you have questions about or concerns about, or just would like more information on, please be in touch with me. I'm assuming everybody knows how to get in touch with me at this point. Does anyone have any final questions or comments?
I have could you repeat for me, the meeting starts at 8:30 in the morning on Friday?
No, on Friday, registration's at 11
Thought
and
you
the
said
program
11.
starts at noon. On
Okay.
Saturday, the program will start at 8:30.
Okay, so it
We'll
goes from
open the
noon to
room
around
with
8.
coffee at 8. I'm sorry, say that again.
So it goes on Friday from noon to about 8.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you.
That helps.
I'm
Detail.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Kelly. I have a question going
Hi, Kelly.
back to the beginning of our session today. The survey, the membership satisfaction survey that
Yes.
pointed out to us. Somebody mentioned that you could put that online by using Google Forms.
Yes.
Well, while we were sitting here, I went to Google and went to Google Forms, and there is an option to import questions. Does anybody know if we have that set of questions that we can import into Google Forms to make this easier?
I think we have to create that ourselves. Jen, am I right about that?
I did. Yeah, because I'm not sure. I think the import would work off Excel. When I created it, I just copied and pasted the questions.
Oh, copy and paste. Okay.
Mhm.
Are you willing to share yours?
I am. The challenge is all the results, unless you copy it into your own account, all the results it'll collate with my results
Oh, okay.
from the earlier one.
Gotcha.
Yep.
But you just took the form and copied and pasted the questions into Google Docs. One
I
at a
did. Yep, in Google
And
Forms.
you may not want to use all of them because that makes it pretty long.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, okay, thank you.
Great question, Kelly. Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I believe we're coming right up on noon and we are committed to completing on time. So let me say thank you again and get in touch with me if I can be of further assistance. We'll see each other next Saturday at 9 Mountain Time, and look for a Zoom link and some materials in the interim. Thanks, everyone. Have a great
Thanks, Eddie.
weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks.
You too.
Thank you.